In this section, we're going to talk about the iterator pattern. This is a very useful and popular pattern that you have probably seen in many different languages and frameworks. So let's say we want to build a web browser. Every web browser has the concept of history. So we can visit different websites and then click the back button to go back in the history. Let's implement this in code. So first we should create a new package. We call it iterator. In this package, we add a new class called browse history. This class is very similar to the history class that we created earlier in the course. So real quick, here we need a field to store the list of websites we have visited. So private list of string. Let's import the list interface with Alt and Enter. So here we have the import statement. Now we call this field URLs and set it to new array list. Now here we need two methods, push and pop. Here's the push method, which takes a string. And here we simply call URLs that add URL. Now the pop method, so public string pop. Here we should remove and return the last URL in the list. So first we should calculate the index of the last item. Let's set last index to urls.size -1. Then we get the last item. So that is urls.get last index. Next, we remove it. So urls.remove last URL. And finally, we return this last URL. It's exactly like the history class we created earlier. Now let's go to the main method. Create a browse history object. So new browse history. We add a few URLs to the history. So push A, then B, and then C. Now let's say we want to iterate over the history and print the URLs we have visited. Currently, this is not possible because this field that we have declared over here is private and it's not accessible outside of this class. One way to solve this problem is to create a getter for this field. So we put the caret on the field name. If you're on Mac, press Command and N. If you're on Windows, press Control and N to bring up the generate palette. Here we create a getter. There you go. So this is our getter. Now, as a convention, we should move these getters and setters at the end of our class. So first we should list our fields, then we have our public methods, and finally we should have the getters and setters. So we select this and move it down below. Good. So here's our browse history class. Okay. Now back in the main method, we can use a for loop to iterate over this history object. So for I equals 0, as long as I is less than history, that get URLs, that size, I++. So this for loop that we have in Java is very similar to the for loop that we have in other languages. Basically, we have three sections in this for loop. First, we initialize a loop variable. Next, we have a semicolon. Here we have a condition. As long as our loop variable is less than this number, then we increment it after each iteration. So in this for loop, we can call history.getURLs. This returns a list object. So then we can call the get method to get the URL at this index. We store it over here and then print it on the terminal. Pretty straightforward. There you go. Now, there is a problem in this implementation. If tomorrow we decide to use a different data structure to store the list of URLs we have visited, our main class is going to break. For example, we may decide to use a stack or a fixed size array here. Let's say we want to store only the last 10 URLs the user has visited. So I'm going to replace this list with a fixed size array. Delete private string array URLs. We set it to new string array of 10. So this is how we can create a fixed size array in Java. Now we have a few breaking changes here. Don't worry about those. First of all, we should change the return type of the getURLs method. Instead of returning a list, we should return a string array. Now, back in the main method, look, we have two breaking changes. Because when we call history.getURLs, we get an array, but arrays in Java do not have these two methods, size and get. Now, this is a very simple application. We only have two classes, but in a real application, if we have used this browse history in multiple places, every time we change the internals of this object, we're going to end up with several breaking changes in our application. Let me give you a metaphor. Once again, think of the remote control of your TV. This remote control has a complex logic board on the inside. Now, if tomorrow the manufacturer decides to replace one of these transistors with a newer model, we should not get affected. We should still be able to use this remote control exactly like before. So changing the internals of an object should not affect its consumers. In this example, we changed the internals of the browse history object, but this change affected other parts of our application. We should encapsulate these changes. So if we change the code inside this class, we should only deal with breaking changes inside this class. So it's totally fine if we have a few breaking changes in the push or pop methods, because these are inside the browse history class. But we don't want these changes affect other classes in our application. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to solve this problem using the iterator pattern.